On Tech News Today, more stunning revelations in the big Sony Pictures hack. Plus, we'll tell you about how Starbucks is enabling your caffeine addiction and your social phobia all in the same app. And Apple is called out in court for deleting music from users' iPods. It's all coming up next on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Thursday, December 4th, 2014. This episode is brought to you by Gazelle, the fast and simple way to sell your used gadgets. Find out what your used iPhone, iPad, and other Apple products are worth at Gazelle.com. And by Squarespace. Squarespace recently launched the latest version of their platform, Squarespace 7, which has a completely redesigned interface, integrations with Getty Images, Google Apps, new templates, and an incredible feature called Cover Pages. Try the new Squarespace at squarespace.com and enter the offer code TNT at checkout to get 10% off. Tech News Today is a show where we talk about the tech news with the journalists who report it. Welcome to the show. I'm Mike Elgan. And hey, Anthony Nielsen, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you, Mike?
I'm doing pretty good. This show, I didn't look like it was going to come together. We had all these moving parts and spinning plates, and somehow a miracle occurred, and here it is, the show. It's fantastic.
It is.
And our co-anchor today is the one and only Christina Warren. How you doing, Christina?
I'm good. I've been buried in all this Sony hack stuff, which I know we're going to talk about in a couple of minutes. But I've been good, but that's been my week.
The Sony hack is the story of the decade almost. Somehow it feels like this fantastic story with like all these different elements. It has multiple types of hacks. It has all these revelations. It has James Franco. It has everything. This story, and we are gonna get into it in just a second. But first, I want to talk about the birthday of the PlayStation, which turned 20 years old yesterday. How exciting is that? And
huge.
It's huge. It's unbelievable. The 20 years went by so quick. They grew up so quick, Christina. And they're actually, Sony is actually coming out with a limited edition gray version to commemorate the birthday. It's a gray PlayStation 4, so it has all the dull, boring-looking finish of the original.
I want this so badly. Well, you don't even know how much I want this.
Yeah, mainly because they are only selling 12,300 units. And
I know, that's why I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to get one, but I want one so badly.
Well, you can pre-order it on this. Yeah, you can pre-order it December 6th. I think that's Saturday, and they're going to give out more information. So, assuming you do get it, you gonna show it off on the show?
Absolutely. I'll show it off, and I'll show it off along with my original Sony PlayStation Gen 1 that I got in 95.
Wow.
So
nice. I think they should come out with new versions of the original games too. That would be cool. But I guess
that would be really cool. That'd be really cool.
For now, we'll just have to stick
Rash,
with the new
like
games.
That. Well, the first PlayStation games weren't that great. It took about 6-7 months for them to really kind of get into their groove. Really a couple of years, but Crash was one of the first really big games. But the first games were basically 3DO ports, and then it was still so much better than anything else. That current generation of consoles that were coming out with the Saturn and other stuff. And I'll shut up now, and we'll move on to not talking about video games.
Well, I'll cross my fingers for you and hope you get it. And let's see if we can get your hands on it and then bring it on the show, and then we can be all show offy, and that'd be really cool.
Totally.
Let's do that. All right, jumping into the news. Revelations continue in last week's hack of Sony Pictures. The breach involved both the theft of company secrets and malware that deleted data from company computers. Some of the best journalism on the aftermath of the attack is coming from Kevin Roose on the site Fusion. And we've been trying to get him on all week, and we finally got him. Welcome to you, Kevin. Am I pronouncing your last name correctly?
Yep, you got it.
Wonderful. That's a great start. Now, before we get into your coverage, can you give us an overview of this hack event? What happened to Sony Pictures on November 24th?
So last week, during some point in the morning, the employees on the Sony Pictures lot saw their computer screens go dark, and a picture of a skull came up, and it said, hacked by GOP. Now, GOP, we later found out, was the acronym for Guardians of Peace, a hacking group that's claiming credit for the hack. But subsequent to that, their networks went down for a few days while they sorted things out. And then this week, the hackers have been releasing troves of data. They claim it's in the terabytes. So far, we've seen gigabytes released. And this data contains everything from full-length movies that hadn't been released yet to employee salaries, social security numbers, healthcare information. There was actually, as you're seeing on the screen right now, some information from Deloitte, which is the big accounting firm. One employee had come over from Deloitte to Sony Pictures and had left some of this salary data on the computer to be found by the hackers, and some just a total hack. I mean, this is like the biggest corporate hack I've ever heard about.
Yeah, Kevin, I absolutely agree. I've been, like you, I've been looking through these gigabytes of data. Another, couple of gigabytes were released yesterday, and then about 34 gigs, I think it's been what's coming out so far. From your perspective, because I've also been looking through this data, I mean, to kind of put this in perspective for people, I mean, this is literally like everything. It seems like it's been on their internal file servers. I mean, it seems like it's basically they got everything on their entire network. Do you think that's a fair way to kind of put it?
Yeah, I mean, it's so much. I mean, it's at least most of their HR and personnel files. I mean, you're seeing bonus plans. There was a spreadsheet that laid out all the employee performance reviews for everyone at Sony. Just massive amounts of stuff.
Files.
I mean, I spent the last 72 hours just poring over this stuff, as I'm sure you have. And like every hour I'm coming across something I just cannot believe is in there.
It's catastrophic from the point of view of the employees because of their, their performance reviews, as you said, their salaries, all this kind of stuff. They get to look at other people.
Their bank account numbers.
Yeah. Yes.
Their bank account numbers in a lot of cases. I mean, it's terrible. I mean, we give healthcare numbers, 401k numbers. I mean, it's truly stunning the amount of information that's out there.
Yeah, and it's weird that Deloitte and Touche had salary data on the Sony servers. I don't know what circumstance could prompt a consultant to bring over the salary information from their company and put it on the servers of another company, of a client. That is bizarre. Maybe it was from email or something. Who knows? But another thing that I heard somewhere, and I don't know if you've seen this, is that there were unused scripts. Is that correct? There are actually screenplays available on these in this trove of documents?
There are some screenplays for TV shows and movies. We actually found the budgets for some of the upcoming Sony films. And it's just like, I mean, but that is the least of Sony Pictures' worries right now. Like scripts are very minor compared to unencrypted medical, personal, financial data all coming out.
Yeah, I mean, that was one thing I wanted to ask about too, I guess, or maybe talk about too, Kevin, is that, all this data we're able to access, very, very little of it has been password protected. And most of the stuff that is password protected is stored alongside folders that are labeled passwords or a document labeled passwords that includes the passwords for all the password protected documents. From your research you've been doing, have you been able to glean any sort of insight into, why the data practices at Sony internally were so, frankly, horrendous?
Well, one of my colleagues, Kashmir Hill, just published a story about this just within the last hour. She talked to employees from Sony Pictures dating back years who said, our information security practices are just non-existent. The chief information security officer at Sony Pictures gave an interview in 2007 to CIO magazine in which he sort of gloated about the fact that they weren't doing strong password protections on files. I mean, it's just an incredible interview where he says, look, if I have to spend, I mean, these are business decisions, there's a business rationale for not protecting ourselves. He said, if I have to spend $1 million to prevent a $10 million attack, that's not worth it for us. And it's just like, I mean, this guy is still running data security at Sony Pictures. And you just can't believe that someone like this is allowed to be in charge of this many people's data.
They should send him to North Korea to a labor camp or something like that. I think that would be a fitting punishment. But this whole thing is like a textbook case, right, of everything that you can do wrong. And there have been a lot of anecdotal stories. I think you've written some of these that employees there, and I think you've got some mood. You're characterizing the mood within Sony Pictures, which is, glum. That employees are using pen and paper, at least did for a few days, and that the shops and cafes switched to cash only. They've been essentially, through a cyber attack, they've been bombed back to the Stone Age almost. Is all that stuff accurate?
Right. One of the former employees said, I love this quote, said, it's business as usual over here if the year were 2002. I mean, they've been reduced to, putting everything onto little flash drives running across the lot. They are not allowed on their sort of networked file databases. Many of them are still not back on their work emails. And this is going on 2 weeks now. So this is a business interruption that's going to hurt them in the short term. The long-term question is whether they're going to get pushback or even lawsuits from employees saying, why didn't you protect my data better? And I think this is going to hurt their competitive position.
I can almost guarantee that there's going to be a class action lawsuit. Yeah, I think that there's almost a guarantee there's a class action lawsuit, especially in California with the data and the HIPAA laws and some of the data privacy things, because just the way that a lot of that stuff was stored, the fact that it's not encrypted, that it's easily accessible, and that now it's out there. If I were an employee at Sony, I would very much be considering legal action, just because, there's nothing they can do about the fact that this stuff is out there, and that their employer, from their own admission, from what Kevin's reporting, was not doing a lot to protect it.
And I've gotten dozens of emails from employees at Sony Pictures since our first story came up, just saying, I can't access these files and management won't tell us anything. Can you look up for me whether I'm in the database and tell me? They're freaking out, as they should be. This is really scary stuff. Yeah. And I think the sort of panic over there is only going to get worse unless management, starts telling people the information they need to know.
Okay, one final dimension to this. You've done some additional reporting based on the information leaked. For example, the hack exposed some gender disparities in the salaries of top executives, that sort of thing. And you've also defended the use of that information. Can you share your views about the ethics of journalists basing stories on stolen data?
Well, we're certainly not the first. There's a decades-long precedent of journalism in the public interest using data that was improperly or illegally, come about. So we're not unique in this perspective. I don't think it's a particularly controversial decision. Our editors and counsel agree. And I think that when you're talking about matters like the information security of thousands of employees, a studio that is one of the largest in Hollywood, and things like gender disparity at a major Hollywood studio, I think these are well within the public interest.
I just, for the record, agree with you. And for people who are on the fence about this and don't really understand the ethics of this, essentially a journalist's first and really only responsibility is to the readers. And so when you have information like this and it has news value and it's a benefit to readers, you have a responsibility to report that information, even if it somehow benefits criminals or the hackers that stole the information. And so it is a controversial point, and I agree with you, Kevin, and appreciate that you're doing some reporting on that.
Mike, I should say there's a caveat, which is that we haven't reported social security numbers or bank account numbers, right, things that could put people in sort of clear and present danger of having their identity stolen or something else like that. So we are taking pains to be thoughtful about what we release. But I think as long as it falls within the sort of category of public interest, we're well within our rights.
Well, great job on the coverage. Kevin Roose is at fusion.net and kevinroose.com, and you can follow him on Twitter at Kevin Roose. This last name is spelled R-O-O-S-E. Thanks for joining us, Kevin.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, just a sec, we're going to talk about a new free service. It's free for now, for a short time only, coming from Microsoft. But first, I want to tell you about Gazelle. Of course, I've been talking about Gazelle for some time, about what a great place it is for you to sell your used gadgets. Of course, it's as great as ever, and it's a great idea to sell your used gadget to Gazelle. But now, Gazelle lets you buy certified pre-owned phones, iPhones, Samsung Galaxy phones, iPads, whatever it is you want to buy, you can buy it at Gazelle directly. And if you've got a phone that you love and it's just like the perfect phone and then you break it, as I tend to do, You can just replace it and get the same phone at a fraction of the cost of a brand new phone. Of course, they have two categories for phones that you might buy. One is called Certified Like New, and the other is Certified Good. The Certified Like New one is a great feature because these phones are in such great shape, they're indistinguishable from a brand new shrink-wrapped phone. Certified Good are devices that show some wear, but you'll get a much bigger discount on those devices. So now Gazelle is not only a great place to sell your phone, but a great place to buy a phone. And of course, certified pre-owned devices are backed by a 30-day risk-free return policy, and they can do that because they put everything through a rigorous 30-point inspection to make sure that everything works perfectly. With Gazelle, selling your phone is still as great as ever. You get paid in cash, you get paid fast, and with the Amazon gift card option, you get 5% extra money. And Gazelle's paid more than $175 million to over 1 million customers, and it's no question as to why that is. It's super easy to do. They pay a lot for their phones, and it's just no hassle at all. So find out what your iPhone is worth. Take a minute, go to gazelle.com and find out. Microsoft is making a powerful polling product available to the public. It's called Bing Pulse, and it used to be available only to organizations that had established partnerships with Microsoft. For example, Fox News used Bing Pulse to track the nationwide impact of President Obama's February State of the Union address. But now Microsoft has announced a version 2 of Bing Pulse, and anyone can use it to create a poll page on a website. The service is technically in beta and free until January 31st. After that, Microsoft plans to offer Bing Pulse on a freemium model. Jordan Novet writes for VentureBeat and joins us now. Hey, Jordan.
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
It's going great, thanks. Now, how does Bing Pulse work exactly? What is this product?
You are going to want to use this if you're having a live stream, for example, like this, and you want the people who are watching to be more engaged in a live stream. And so you can say, what do you think about the sentiment that you're listening to now? And people can say they strongly approve, strongly disapprove, and so on, or just neutral. Or you can actually send out a question to people saying, in the example you're showing on screen, who should set the rules on tracking federal governments and states? And people can, with their phones or on their desktop, weigh in by pressing a button.
So how's this different from the old version? What's the difference between the old version of Bing Pulse and this new version, which is going to be available to the public?
The old version costs a lot of money, and it's difficult to set up. And this is a self-service freemium version, which anyone, even if you have a small event, can try out. And if you don't like it, you only have to do it for a month, as opposed to, I don't know, a year with tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars in setup fees.
Now, Bing Pulse is branded with the B word. What does Bing, the search engine, have to do with this?
That's a good question. I think it refers to the nature of it being a service anyone can use. And so if you're watching some television show or some show on the internet, you can use it, and it's not just something that is being sold to companies, or let me say, it's not just for business use. It's for anyone to log on and use. So it's right next to Bing image search, Bing web search. You can just find it if you are, well, I actually haven't seen it in production yet, but I'm sure that it'll be easily available on a web panel from Bing. I think that's the distinction. It's not some separate service.
Do we have any idea of how much this is going to cost after it exits its free period?
Would not tell me.
Those dirty, rotten so-and-sos, they won't tell us the price. But it's nice that as a freemium, you know, obviously that's the thing we really need to know about this, is that how limited is the free version, how powerful is the paid version, and how much is it going to cost? That's really what we want to know. Jordan Novet is at venturebeat.com, and you can follow him on Twitter at Jordan Novet. Thanks for joining us.
Well, have me back when you have it running on Twit, and we can try it out.
That's a great idea. Let's do that. All right. Thanks, Jordan. Well, iPhone-carrying, Starbucks-slurping caffeine addicts in Portland, Oregon just got an option on their Starbucks iOS app that lets them not only pay for their Starbucks beverages, but order them as well, all without any human interaction. Starbucks calls the feature Mobile Order and Pay, according to a report by Samantha Bakall on Oregon Live. And Starbucks plans to roll it out city by city all year next year until all 12,000 U.S. stores have it. Samantha Bakall joins us now. Welcome to you, Samantha.
Hi.
Now, you grilled Starbucks Chief Digital Officer Adam Brotman about this new app feature, and you asked him, why Portland? It's a great question because, after all, isn't new tech supposed to be launched in San Francisco?
Well, I was thinking more, I was surprised that it was in Seattle. I mean, Starbucks is based out of Seattle, and I figured, you'd want to start at home and then work out the kinks there before kind of exploring out. But essentially what he said was that, because Portland's a smaller city, it's got a good mix of urban, suburban, we're a pretty early adopter town with, good taste is what he said. And, we're foodies. So they thought Portland had the perfect combination of things for them to test it out here in a good enough size of stores to see how it worked.
So how does the app work? Does it work the same way that the Chipotle and the Taco Bell apps work, where you can kind of, do your order, on your phone, and then it knows when you're near the restaurant and then sends it to the barista to prepare it for you?
It's a little bit different. The mobile pay and order is actually just another facet of functionality for the pay app that Starbucks already has. So for all of their users except the ones here, it'll just say menu in the upper right-hand corner, but here it says order. And so you can, click through and you can order all your stuff, and essentially the minute you press order, your drink is being made, and it gives you a time estimate on, how long it'll take, and and it'll warn you if you've picked a Starbucks location that's too far away, because, saying, oh, you'll be late your drink will be waiting there by the time you get there. So it doesn't quite communicate with the kitchen or, the baristas as much as it does with the Taco Bell app. But it's kind of cool. You can just walk in. If you're on the way to a meeting, you can order from the one that's right next to where your meeting is and pick it up right before you walk in, already done.
I seem to recall a report that... I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you're in line, I mean, I know our Starbucks, sometimes there's lines almost out the door. So if you can put in an order while you're in line, you don't have to wait as long.
Yeah. And that's what they're saying, and they're hoping that, with using mobile order, that it'll kind of lower the line, down. And so you'll still have time to connect with the barista, but you'll also have, less people waiting and ordering. And obviously, if, there is no line or you aren't in a pinch for time, you can just walk in and order. But I think it's particularly good for people who are kind of, stressed for time. And a function that Adam said was coming was the ability to schedule ahead. So if at 2:30 that you're going to want a coffee, you can schedule your coffee to be ready at 2:30, so you can walk to your Starbucks, get it, and come back, and you've saved some time out of your day.
Burke here, who's on the staff here at TWiT, was just relating a story where this morning he was at Starbucks and people had ordered some stuff and they didn't show up for it, and the baristas were laughing at him because they didn't show up for their stuff. I seem to recall a story where Starbucks is working on this geolocation feature that Christina hinted at, where they're using a combination of your GPS coordinates, I guess, a little bit of artificial intelligence, I guess, and also using iBeacons. Of course, Starbucks stores are pretty aggressive with installing Apple's iBeacon product, which can tell, basically it communicates with your phone, the phone tells the server tells the store, and they sort of know you're there. Did any of that technology come up? Is that something planned for the future? And if so, or if not, what else is planned for the future of this app?
Well, I guess there is a little bit of communication. I mean, it's using your phone's GPS to kind of figure out where you are. So, it'll pick up the closest Starbucks to you. And again, if your meeting is 5 blocks away and there's a Starbucks closer, you can order to, schedule it to be picked up at that one. But, they've got the schedule ahead function that's coming, and they're also working on a mobile delivery. And there's no timeline for that yet. I know just the ordering function is going to be rolled out nationwide in 2015, but there's no word on when delivery will roll out. So essentially, once delivery comes out, you can pay, order, and have your drink brought to you all through the app.
Wow. Will they drink it for you too? That'd be great. That way I don't have to take the time to do that. Now, you've got a sweet gig at Oregon Live. You're the food and drinks editor, right? You basically roam around town enjoying yourself, and then you get paid to write about it, right?
Most of the time. I do a lot of food and dining writing, and then I do a lot of drink writing as well. I spent some time at a distillery before I worked here, so I have some sort of, I guess, insider knowledge. But it's pretty fun. Portland's a good city to eat and drink in, and there's a lot of new stuff happening. And, we're still considered a tech beacon maybe for the smaller market. So it's it's a good place to be.
Well, your story got picked up by everybody in the tech press, so congratulations on that. And I want to thank you for coming on Tech News Today.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Samantha Bakall is at OregonLive.com and on Twitter at Sam Bakall. Her last name is spelled Bakall. We told you on March 18th and August 18th about two exclusives on The Information that Google was working on a new version of YouTube and other sites for children. Now Google has finally confirmed the news. In a profile of Google Engineering Vice President Pavni Diwanji in USA Today, the executive said that she'll be leading the initiative at Google to provide kids under the age of 12 special versions of Google services, probably including Search, YouTube, and Chrome. Christina Warren, this is kind of an inevitable thing. I mean, Apple has those little tiny tables in the Apple Store to sort of propagandize kids toward the Apple way of doing things. Amazon is actually creating original content to sort of hook kids in. It's the Ronald McDonald model of marketing. You sort of, you don't find customers, you basically grow them. What do you think about this? Is this a good idea, a bad idea? Is it, what is Google trying to achieve here, you think?
I think it's a good idea in the sense that a lot of Google services now, you need to be 13 and up because of the various ways that they use user data, because it's so important to, how their services work to collect user information. But I do think, especially with things like YouTube and also even search, kind of going back to the old Yahoo way, the Yahooligans, having the kid-friendly search engine. I think having products that are kind of dedicated towards younger users is a good idea. I think especially if they do it the right way and if it's helping. Maybe, they could kill two birds with one stone and both promote their products, but also maybe encourage good data practices and good security practices too.
Yeah, no question about that. And the fact that they're talking about a kid-friendly version of Chrome suggests that they could use the browser to make the entire internet kid-friendly somehow. I'm not really sure how that would work exactly. And they're being very cagey about the exact scope of this. They didn't exactly specify all the Google services that they were working on, and they wouldn't specify when we might see such a thing. But the fact that Amir Afradi at The Information was talking about this in March of this year suggests that they've been working on it for quite a while, and they must be pretty far along because Google doesn't take years and years to launch anything. They're a pretty fast-moving company. So I think if they do launch something like this, it's likely to be, I don't know, within the next 3 to 6 months maybe. Who knows? Sure will be interesting, and kudos to Amir Afradi for nailing that one well in advance of the actual announcement. Amazon yesterday introduced a new line of diapers and baby wipes. Big deal, right? But what's interesting about this story is that the new product line called Amazon Elements is exclusive to Prime members. That's right. If you're not a Prime member, you can't buy the products at any price. And speaking of price, the cost of these diapers works out to about 19 cents a diaper, which is way cheaper than diapers normally cost. Christina Warren, I think this is the beginning of something huge for Amazon. I'm predicting dozens or hundreds of different types of products that are going to be available exclusively to Prime members. I mean, why not?
No, I think it's genius. And actually, it's funny because it's taking something directly out of Sam Walton's playbook, with Sam's Club and Costco and some of the other price clubs have their own house brands. And I think that house brands is not a new thing at all. And Amazon has had their own house brand for some of their electronics, Amazon Basics and some of their other things. They've sold at lower prices. But I think that taking this model, which is very much out of the Sam's Club and the Costco playbook, and having high quality, lower price at things that you can only get if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, is yet another reason for people to shop at Amazon and build loyalty. And I think it has huge potential, especially if. And I mean, the big thing will be what's the quality of the products. But in general, Amazon's products tend to be very, very good. They're their internal stuff. And so if that can remain true, this becomes really interesting. And then, of course, the question becomes, if they're offering their own products for their Prime members, at these discounts, what does that do to their relationship with their other, suppliers? But I think you're right. I think this could be huge.
Absolutely. And some time ago, Recode reported that Amazon was recruiting people to help create its own brand line of products in the area of consumables generally. So they really like the stuff that has to be replaced for obvious reasons, I guess. And so they've been working on this for a while. And just to recap, Prime membership was somewhat recently raised from $79 a year to $99 a year. And everybody's like, wow, that's outrageous. But apparently they're adding so much exclusive stuff and other benefits that they're making it definitely worth that extra $20 a year. One of the things that's interesting, I think, is that the branding of this, which is called Elements, is so vague. And it could, this could cover any line. This could be household products, non-household products. It could be anything at all. So say they've really left all of their options open for the types of products that they can offer under this Elements brand. And I'm just assuming that Elements will be the Uber brand for their specific, generic house brands. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, I think it's actually a perfect name for a consumer packaged good type of branding anyway. I think it's really solid. What's also interesting too is, Amazon allows Prime members, and I guess non-Prime members too, you can have recurring orders of things to come to you. Like I for instance, we get our toilet paper and our paper towels from Amazon, and every 6 weeks or whatever, the amount that we need for 6 weeks arrives from Amazon on an automatic ordering system. So you can imagine, they've had that for Amazon Baby, I think, or Amazon Mom for a while. You can imagine having those sorts of things in place with their house brand stuff, maybe even offering additional discounts on recurring subscriptions. There are really some interesting business opportunities there.
Definitely, and I think they're clearly trying to change the psychology. If you're going to buy, something substantial and, a once-in-a-lifetime kind of product, you'll go to Amazon just, without even thinking about it. They'll ship it overnight and so on. But they're trying to get people to buy paper towels and these consumable things that you buy all the time. People don't think of Amazon as the place to get those kinds of things. They go to Costco or the grocery store or whatever for those kinds of things. And they're trying to change the mindset, because once you go down that road where the recurring consumable, disposable products that you normally buy at Costco or the supermarket come to you in an Amazon box, you start thinking of hundreds of other things that you could get through that way, including groceries, food. Yes. We buy a lot of food through Amazon. It's a great place to get some pretty obscure food products. And so, man, another smart move by Amazon. This is probably a great idea. And I'm wondering, as always, whether they're actually losing money on the products themselves because of all the other benefits.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's an open question. I think it becomes really interesting. I think that, their ethos has always kind of been, you can lose some money if it means gaining the customer kind of for life. And again, that's kind of something that Walmart did early on. And I think that Amazon has an opportunity to, if you can become the go-to place for everyone to shop, regardless if it's online or, for whether it's small items rather or large items, that eventually I think ends up becoming, when you become the default place to buy things, losing money now on diapers doesn't really matter, because longer term you can find a way to profit off of those continued customers.
Absolutely. Definitely true. Well, in just a sec, we have some updates for you, but first I'm going to talk about Squarespace. The thing about Amazon is that it's a great site for buying stuff, but it's an ugly site. You don't want an ugly site like Amazon.com. You want a beautiful site, because that's going to thrill the people who visit your site, whether you want to blog or if you want to sell things. If you make something or you offer a service, or you've written a book, you'd like to sell your book, whatever it is that you'd like to sell or do online, you can do it with Squarespace, because with Squarespace, e-commerce is available for all subscription plan levels. You can even do nonprofit stuff, like if you have a school fund drive, or you have a wedding with a cash wedding registry, something like that. You can do that very easily. Just plug it in. People can easily go there and transfer money, and you don't have to do all of the nitty-gritty details, because Squarespace will take care of all that for you, of course. Everything about Squarespace is super easy to use, and I love easy-use products because I have better things to do than to learn all these areas of design and engineering and maintaining a website. I just want to go in and do my thing and not have to master all these new disciplines, and Squarespace is a great place to do that, because they will take care of all that stuff for you, and it's very, very nice. Also great is that whatever design you pick there, and then you can, of course, customize it, will look fantastic on a mobile device. And that is super important, because chances are these days the people who visit your site are going to be doing it with a smartphone. And if it's not a smartphone, it's probably going to be a tablet. Probably about 50-50 mobile and non-mobile these days on average. And so you really have to be great on a mobile device. A really easy way to turn people off from a website is to look terrible on a mobile device, and that will never happen on Squarespace because they just know how to do mobile devices very, very easily and quickly, at least from your part. You can start a free 2-week trial with no credit card required and start building your website. When you decide to sign up for Squarespace, make sure you use the offer code TNT. That'll take 10% off the price and show your support also for Tech News Today. And to begin using Squarespace 7, which is the new version, super easy to use. Existing customers can just go to the Settings tab to activate all the new features, and I highly recommend that you do that. And we thank Squarespace for their support of Tech News Today. Squarespace, start here, go anywhere. On Monday, November 24th, we told you about Symantec's discovery of malware for spying on ISPs and telecoms that was probably created by a government. And this Trojan is something they're calling, what I called on this show, Regin. It's spelled R-E-G-I-N. This is a Norse mythological reference that I had no idea how to pronounce, apparently. So Tuesday, I asked security expert Steve Gibson on Security Now how to say it. He didn't know either. He knows everything there is to know about security, but he knows a little bit less about Norse mythology. But then a crazy Swedish guy, his characterization, not mine, named Zap Anderson made this fantastic video for us that explains the whole thing. Let's take a look.
So, hello, Zap Anderson from Sweden here. You were wondering how to pronounce Regin properly. I'm standing here right by the Sigurd's carving, which actually chronicles the tales of Regin and his brother. It's basically a comic book showing the tale. So roughly speaking, we had the smith named Regin who wanted to kill his brother, who's currently in the shape of a dragon named Fafnir. So he kind of tricked his stepson Sigurd into doing it for him. So Sigurd actually slayed the dragon. He then sat down at a fire, broiling the dragon's heart over a fire, as you do. Accidentally got some dragon blood on his finger, which made him able to hear the birds speaking, and the birds told him, because when you eat dragon blood, clearly you can translate it's kind of a Babel fish of Viking Age style. So then he could hear that it was actually Regin who had betrayed him, so he chopped his head off. /hack/. But as far as pronunciation goes, it's Regin with the hard G and the long E, slightly wider E sound than in English, E. Of course, this guy is Sigurd, and the dragon is Fafnir, as if you cared. The text around the carving is actually basically saying, hey, Sigrid, which was a real person, actually made this bridge, which you can see all pieces of down here. And yeah, for their daughter and blah, blah. It's basically a Viking Age tweet. And because it's less than 140 characters and it has about as much value as a Kilroy Was Here graffiti. But yeah, that's what it is. And that's how it looks in real life.
Wow. Zap Anderson, thank you so much for that video right from the source. How amazing is that, to Christina Warren?
It's the greatest video I've ever seen in my life. What a fan. Wow, Zaf, that's amazing. I learned so much. And the editing he did, it was so good. Oh my God, like best fan ever. That's amazing.
It truly is. And now we know how to pronounce it. But I think that asking Americans to roll an R is asking too much. So let's go with Regan. Instead of my Regin, which was way off. So Regan it is. And also thank you, Symantec, for coming out with a name of a virus that we had to, that was so hard to pronounce and that nobody knew where it came from. But that is fantastic, Zap Anderson.
We got a video out of it. That's amazing. Oh, that's fantastic.
It truly is. I was so thrilled to see that. And I assume also that they're going to play that on Security Now. At least I hope so, with Steve Gibson. So we'll be seeing that again on this network. All right. Well, wonderful stuff, Zap Anderson. We've been reporting on the billion-dollar class action lawsuit against Apple, which targets the company for anti-competitive actions against alternative music sources and players. Now, lawyers in the trial have accused Apple of actually deleting songs from rival services from users' iPods between the years 2007 and 2009. Apple didn't deny it. Their response was that their deletions were part of the company's attempt to keep iPods free from attack by malware and, quote, malicious content. They also said that the vagueness of an error message resulting from a user's attempt to sync such content was to avoid confusing users with too much information. Christina Warren, you can't give users too much information because they'll get in trouble.
Yeah, this is an odd one. Now, I never ran across this. I never had any, rival music services stuff deleted from my iPod. At least I don't think so. Between 2007 and 2009. Yeah, it's very interesting that they didn't deny it. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it really is. And I don't remember this either. I would have imagined this would have been a big scandal. And I don't recall such
honestly,
a scandal.
I have to say, I don't either. And I was buying a lot of Amazon Music back then. And I'm trying to think of what other music services there even were that you could use on an iPod. I don't know anybody who was selling anything AAC. They didn't get rid of DRM until 2009. But they had, you could load MP3s onto it. I think that this would have been a bigger deal if it had been more widespread, but I do think it's interesting that they didn't deny that they potentially removed files from people's iPods.
Yeah, absolutely. And their non-denial sounds just really kind of icky, the way they're.
It does. I don't like it, and I don't like the idea even. I mean, it's kind of like with when the Kindle deleted, the copies of 1984, the pirated copies of 1984 off of people's Kindles. I kind of had the same feeling. It's like, unless you can guarantee that it's malware, like if I've put this file here on purpose, like don't remove it from my device. You know what I mean? Like don't touch my device unless I've given you explicit permission to do so, because that's not cool.
Yeah, definitely not cool. And I understand that the main event in this lawsuit, which is going to be the video of Steve Jobs himself, his deposition, which was recorded some years ago, of course, is going to hit tomorrow. So we should be seeing that tomorrow, and everybody can't wait to see it. I, for one, can't wait to see it, in part because Steve Jobs is so persuasive. Apple's looking so bad in this lawsuit. And you never know. Steve could turn another one around with his reality distortion field from the grave. Wow.
He could be belligerent and be kind of the belligerent Steve that we also know and love. And now I'm going to call it now. Someone needs to do a supercut of the Steve Jobs deposition video that we're expecting to see tomorrow, and the Justin Bieber deposition that TMZ got a hold of, where he was just a complete asshat. And it was just like, what? Someone needs to do a supercut of those two things juxtaposed against one another. And if you do that, I will love you forever, and the internet will love you, and it will go viral.
Zap Anderson, we're counting on you. You can pull another one out.
Zap Anderson, your only hope.
That's right. All right, wonderful. Well, our TNT fan of the day is James Stewart, a Canadian who lives in Tasmania, who says he listens to the show using Bluetooth headphones while he is grading baby salmon. I guess he's a teacher of baby salmon. He's doing the grading. No, I think he's works in a fishery of some kind, and he's involved in that. I don't know anything about the salmon business. I really don't. But anyway, he listens to Tech News Today while he's doing his job, and we thank him for that. What a cool thing to be in Tasmania doing a crazy job like that. But anyway, we're glad to have you as an audience member and a fan. How do you watch or listen to TNT? Just record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup, post it on Google+, Twitter, or Facebook, and use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT, and we will find it. That is the Tech News Today. Christina Warren, what other fascinating things are you working on? You said you've been working on this whole Sony Pictures hack.
Yes.
Has that been consuming your life?
It has been, because there's thousands and thousands of documents. So I've got another couple of stories about some of the things we've been finding those documents, which will be up probably within the hour. So people who are watching this now should expect it up within the next 45 minutes. And that's basically kind of been, that's been the all-consuming thing of my week, has been the Sony hack.
Wonderful.
So.
I can't wait to read it. Just go to Mashable.com. I'm sure it'll be highlighted in a big way right there on the homepage, probably today, tomorrow, and all weekend and on into the week. I'm really looking forward to your coverage on that because I know you're a very detailed person. And I imagine it's like, I don't know if you watch the newsroom, but whenever they go after some big thing, do some big research, they have the big stacks of paper on the conference room table and stuff like that. And I know that was you all week.
Completely. My iMac screen has been covered just with all the different documents coming up and various search queries, and it's just, it's a lot of stuff, and it's stunning. This is going to be a story we're going to be talking about for weeks and months once the inevitable trial comes out. Both the lawsuits from the employees, but of course once we figure out whoever's been behind all this, because this is without a doubt the worst corporate hack I've ever seen, and it's on a scale that it's truly devastating. I truly feel for everybody at Sony. Sony, all the employees. The executives maybe in IT, maybe not so much because I'm not sure what they were doing. But I genuinely feel for all the employees and anybody who's just kind of working in the cog, because it's a mess.
It absolutely is a mess. Christina Warren, you can find her piece at Mashable.com. You can find her on Twitter at film_girl. Thanks for being our co-anchor again today, Christina.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. Subscribe to the audio or video versions of Tech News Today, or both if you want to, via RSS, good old-fashioned RSS. You can find your favorite way to subscribe at twit.tv/TNT. You can follow us on Twitter at Tech News Today TV. Subscribe to our subreddit at technewstoday.reddit.com. And please send us your thoughts and opinions by email to tnt@twit.tv or phone. 260-TNT-SHOW is our number. And don't miss our evening newscast, Tech News Tonight, at 4 p.m. Pacific tonight, and every weeknight right here on the Twit Network. My name is Mike Elgan. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.